When it comes to private rental agreements and renting to Uber drivers, they feel like they're being watched. So they're not going to do anything stupid like try to rent out the car to somebody else. Hello and welcome back to Car Rental University. I am your host, Alex Withrow. Today we're going to talk about a very new problem that is happening in the private rental space. What happens if your renter sublets your car to another renter? Before I get into that, click below, grab the 5 things you must do before starting a car rental business. That also includes the Car Share Growth Guide, which gives you lots of information on where the strongest car share platforms are in your city. It goes zip code by zip code. Lots of great info in there. Also, be sure to give this channel a subscribe and like this video as well. What happens when your renter sublets your car to another renter? And you may think to yourself, what are you talking about? How could this possibly happen? Oh, it happens all right. If you have a car that you maybe are renting to an Uber driver, I have a couple buddies this has happened to, where they have a car that has gone out to their renter, but the renter initially basically negotiated them very tough on the prices. Let's say it's an older car and they got you down to like $300 a week. A lot of times what these guys will do is they will then re-rent the car. They will sublet the car to another renter for the actual market price of $425, $450 a week. And so in that scenario, they are bagging about $125 or $150 a week. Sometimes I think hosts or owners of cars may think to themselves, well, I don't want to deal with any payment issues, so I'm going to price this kind of on the low side to make it easy for the renter to pay the rent. So I'm going to put it at like $300 a week. Not a big deal. It takes a full day of driving on Uber. Many times is their thinking, but the problem with that is that if that price is too low, it does open up the opportunity for subletting. So very easy solution to this problem. There's 2 things. First of all, easiest way to deal with this is to just price it at around $400 a week, because if you price the car at $400 a week, there is no longer any room for the renter to sublet it to another car, because they're not going to get $500 a week unless it's like a Tesla or a nicer car. When it comes to private rental agreements and renting to Uber drivers, pretty much $500 a week is the ceiling. Very hard to go above that. I've heard of on occasion some guys doing $600 a week. That's probably with like a Model Y Tesla or something like that. For the most part, it really just does not make a lot of sense to do that. So I would recommend pricing it maybe around $400, $425 a week. It doesn't make sense at that point to sublet it to somebody else because there's just not enough room for the pricing and not enough meat to go around. So that's really the strongest way to deal with that. Another thing you should think about is it never hurts to put dash cams in the cars. A lot of insurance companies nowadays will give you a break on pricing if you put dash cams in the cars. I know that has been my experience. So that is something that can be very helpful. Not only does it help you with incidents, accidents, it really does help with regards to this issue of not allowing renters to sublet your car to somebody else. So that's really how I would deal with it. If a driver, a renter knows that you are in that car and there is a dash cam in there, obviously they feel like they're being watched. So they're not going to do anything stupid like try to rent out the car to somebody else. Now, every now and then there is someone dumb enough to do that. So you can always check the dash cam on occasion and make sure it's the person who you rented it to. Like I said, the number one way to deal with this is to just price it at a level where there's just not enough margin for someone to sublet it. That's really the easiest way to deal with this, because in that scenario, it's not going to make sense for them to sublet the car out for $50 to $75 a week. So yeah, that's really what I would recommend. But like I said, this mainly happens when people rent out private rental agreements with cars that are like $250 a week, $300 a week. That's when you run into those issues with subletting it. I mean, crazy things happen in the private rentals market, but that is one way to deal with that, and you shouldn't have any problem. I've never had a problem with this because I've always extracted the most money possible out of the agreement, and there is no margin for subletting. So that's how I would deal with that. If this has been something that you have dealt with before, drop a comment below. We'd love to hear about it. I've had a few friends in this business who have struggled with subletters before. It's always kind of a crazy thing sometimes. Before I go, click below, grab the 5 things you must do before starting a car rental business. I will catch you in the next episode. Thank you.